What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction, with some Savage Dragon archives. So if you saw in the channel a couple weeks ago, I was on Comixology Unlimited, and I read the first miniseries of Savage Dragon on there. I hate reading on apps. I mean, I really just don't want to stare at screens. I do it all day long because I write on screens. I make videos on screens. This is just what I do. So when I have my downtime, I want an actual book. I don't know about you. Hit the like and subscribe button, by the way. We're really growing the channel very nicely. We hit 1,500 subscribers this last weekend, so thank you for that, everybody who's been joining in. Love having you here and love watching this grow and people enjoy the good content. Now, Savage Dragon is Erik Larsen's brainchild. He is the artist and writer of this. He is one of the early founders of Image Comics. He split off from Marvel with some of the other artists, popular artists at the time, and Savage Dragon was always his dream project. He did a bunch of shorts that kind of tied into this universe and stuff like that in a book called Megaton, which is by, gosh, I can't remember the guy's name. And he even sent the books to me, and I feel bad. I'm sorry about that. But, you know, he was around in the indie artist scenes in the 80s and basically contributed stories to these indie artist mags, which are pretty cool. I like that. Erik's always been kind of just an indie artist guy, and he took the leap to do this. And now Savage Dragon is almost approaching its 250th issue as of the recording of this video, which is awesome. So I wanted to catch up, and I was like, okay. So I looked for the trades, and there's a lot of trades, and a couple of them are out of print and expensive. And then not only that, but I guess there was a period where the trades weren't selling all that great. So there's this era of issues around issue 50 somewhere to issue 120 or 130 somewhere where there are no trades reprinting them. And so I was like, dang it, I guess I can't get those. And the reason I wanted the trades is because these archive versions are in black and white, and I really wanted to read the color versions like they're meant to be, I guess. But I gave up because those were too many missing issues, so I'm gonna have to find those anyway, and I'm not going to track down single issues. That's not really my game. So this is pretty neat. As far as value goes, I mean, this is $19.99 for 25 issues. So, I mean, this is a great way to do it too. And there's 9 volumes of it right now, so you can catch up on this entire series for less than $200 basically. And he's got up to issue 225 in these archive versions. So I checked this out. Oh, by the way, the first volume of the archive is also available on Comixology. If you do want to read that way and you have a subscription there, you can read this whole thing for free. So there's that. So this covers the first miniseries where Savage Dragon shows up. He doesn't remember who he is. He joins the police force. I actually really like Erik Larsen's art. There is a little bit, maybe too much random detail of debris and stuff like that on the panel that kind of obscures things, especially in black and white, because the color, tends to make that more muted. But he's very expressive. He's very dynamic with everything he does. And so I think that mitigates anything on that level, which I enjoy. So he joins the police force at this guy Frank's behest. And these just make me laugh with the guns and stuff like that. And then starts fighting supervillains because nobody else can fight supervillains. Because they don't have power. And so different supervillains show up. There's this group called the Vicious Circle, who's kind of they're in control of things, run by this guy Overlord, which becomes the main plot of all this. Now, by the way, very annoyingly, the binding of this popped out. So, I mean, I paid very little for this. I mean, obviously for what it is, but I mean, one read through, that's kind of annoying on that. And here's the cool thing about Savage Dragon, though. There are tons of references to comics in the pulps in the past and all that in here. So if you are familiar with comics, you're gonna get this. Look at this this here. So he's fighting Johnny Redbeard's Next Men, and this is obviously a reference to the logo of John Byrne's Next Men. So very funny. Lots of references like that all the way through here. And what ends up happening is Erik Larsen develops so many freaking characters throughout this entire book. It's almost hard to keep track of them. So I do recommend reading it all in one sort of go. There are crossovers with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and with Wildcats in here. So lots of Image crossover stuff. That's pretty cool. Early on Image. And what ended up happening is this Frank guy is being blackmailed by the Vicious Circle. And so Dragon actually ends up taking it into his own hands and helping. And Frank kind of goes into witness protection mode. Lots of just knockdown, drag-out fights, which are very brutal all the way through this. It's hard to talk about this all the way through because there's so many heroes. There's a guy, Mighty Man, and he's returned, and you don't know who he is. And there's a big mystery throughout the entire thing that builds, and you end up finding out who he is at the end of it. And you think he's Superman kind of at first, but he ends up being Shazam. So it's like a thing where he presses bracelets together, and he ends up getting powers. And it ends up that the Mighty Man person is a persona controlled by a nurse who Savage Dragon's got a little bit of a crush on, so it ends up a little awkward. But cool stuff. There's a character, instead of J. Jonah Jameson, look at, like I said, the brutality is pretty high in this, so I wouldn't give this to kids. Instead of J. Jonah Jameson, there's R. Richard Richardson, which is pretty funny because, of course, Richard is a long form of Dick, and so obviously there's a good joke there. Savage Dragon goes through all these things. Super Patriot's another character who gets mind controlled in here. Savage Dragon gets mind controlled at one point throughout this deal. There's so many complex plots that are just being built and gone over. At the beginning of it, Savage Dragon dates a girl, and she ends up getting shot, and he really ends up being regretful over that. Very Gwen Stacy type of moment in his career. And he finally starts to open up, and he's dating this girl, Rapture, who is a superpowered being herself here. And she's kind of a nympho. Causes problems here. And here's Wildcats as a crossover. But it builds up mostly with this Vicious Circle storyline. This is a cool one. The mom of the lady he was dating at first gets demon-possessed and ends up trying to kill Dragon over the portion of it, too. Pretty nasty. Look at this image. Pretty funny. All the way enjoyable. I mean, there was no point in this. I love this this perspective image with this giant gun with Frank. Eventually, they go back after Overlord again, and the Vicious Circle, and Savage Dragon takes down Overlord to conclude the volume. Good stopping spot. I've skipped over a lot because, I mean, honestly, he introduces so many characters. He introduces a full Marvel Universe worth of characters, basically, in this. So it's like, whoa. It's a little daunting at that point. And they all, during the time when this was going off, I mean, there were side series of a character called Vanguard. There was one called Freak Force. There's one called The Star. I mean, there was a lot going on with this stuff. And so a ton going on in the Dragon series. Now, super enjoyable. I thought this was very fun, even in black and white. The pacing is very fast. You can really just like plow through this real quick, and I did. So I think, overall, this is a really great comic, and I'm not surprised it's gone 250 issues. Obviously, Eric Larson really cares about this, and just from all the references to different things in here, there's so many homages and references he makes. You can tell he just really cares about comics overall, which I appreciate. And I also like that he's independently doing this himself. That is kudos, because in the comic world, that's not how you maintain stardom. And he cares about his craft and cares about his book more than anything else, which is awesome. All right. So this is like a 9 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed it all the way around. I'm going to get volume 2 whenever I get another, sort of trade buy shipment. So I can get free shipping. And I'll hopefully be able to catch up on this by the time issue 250 comes out, or at least shortly thereafter, because I definitely want to read that issue 250. I think that's a huge landmark, and congratulations to Eric and everybody involved in this. All right, guys, hit that like and subscribe button, and let me know if you've been reading this, if you're interested, and I will be back next time.